I would like to get it out of the way first that this is not a paid review. I actually bought the Magnificent Chu Jian in the same order that I had bought my Nu Wei Dao. I am not being paid to review this. I just felt that I should review both swords because I really like both of them. So, for transparency's sake, this is not a paid review. So, the reason I had ordered the Magnificent Chu Jian was actually because I had been looking for a another Chinese sword, specifically Jian, that had more subdued fittings on it. Now, the first Chinese sword that I had ever bought, and I mean Chinese culturally, not Chinese made, the first Chinese sword that I had bought culturally was the LK Chen White Serpent, which is a Ming Dynasty Jian, and that has lots of just and very fancy and loud fittings. It is a very visually pleasing sword, and I had bought the first generation model of that sword. I really liked it. It handled really great, but it was a little bit heavy due to the furniture for my own taste. Granted, I had no experience in Genfa, so for me, it was a little bit awkward to get used to. With the Magnificent Chu Jian, I at least knew how to swing the sword a little bit better. I was more proficient in handling it, and I felt more comfortable swinging a Jian, and that I would enjoy this sword. The first thing that I was worried about when I had ordered this was the cord wrap because I'd never gotten a sword with this style of wrap before. As you can tell, it is a basic black cord wrap. And I I was a little bit worried about the tightness of this cord, but after having extensively used this sword for the past couple days, I have no concerns at all. Yes, it is a little bit malleable because of the I've used it pretty extensively with sweaty hands, but I can push them right back. I am not worried at all about the cord coming undone. It feels very comfortable. It's very soft. It doesn't irritate my hand. And I would say that LK Chen has done a very good job on making sure that it is tight and secure. The other thing I wanted to address with the Magnificent Chu Jian is that when I first received it, it was unbelievably tight in the scabbard. I So LK Chen, when they ship their swords, puts some kind of clear material. I believe it's like saran wrap on the blades of their swords, and I believe this is to prevent the blade from rusting while in transit, which makes sense. So when I first pulled the sword out, it was covered in what I assumed to be saran wrap, and it was oiled, and it came out just fine, no problem. But then when I took it all off and I resheathed the sword and I tried to pull it out again, it was unbelievably tight. I could not pull the sword out, and I actually had to refer to a friend, Dillatrex, who I'll be linking his channel below. And I had to really break in the scabbard. I did not end up having to sand the scabbard, but I had to break in the sword a little bit. And I can't do this safely, so I'm going to demonstrate it by pulling it out on camera. So as you can see, based on that footage, I really struggled to pull out that sword. And I would rather that a sword come in the scabbard too tight and require me to break it in a little bit than a sword whose scabbard is too loose and falls out. Am I worried that the Magnificent Chu Jian is going to fall out of its scabbard? Absolutely not. I am not worried one bit. I am more worried that I will never be able to take it out if the wood ever shrinks, which I think it will at some point. I think the state I live in, which is on the West Coast, of America is a little bit colder than Longchuan, China, but you never know. In comparison, here is the White Serpent from LK Chen. And I mean, this sword comes out of its scabbard very easily. No problem. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think both swords are very good, but there's some variation. I never had an issue taking the scabbard off of my White Serpent, so that's a little bit point. That's a point of comparison for me personally, given that these are my only two examples of Jian. One thing I would like to touch on is that the Magnificent Chu Jian, I was very happy to see that the fittings were very clean. I could not see any casting marks. However, LK Chen, their forge, whatever they do to clean up the casting job on the guard, the pommel, the scabbard end cap, and I will show close-ups later, and even the belt loop that it comes with. Whatever they do, I cannot tell that there is any sanding. However they clean it up, I mean, it's just a phenomenal job. Forgive my Chinese, but even on the handguard, I believe what's written is in seal script of shi, which translates to gentleman warrior, I believe is what it says on the website. I'm Chinese. I cannot speak Chinese, so I apologize for my terrible pronunciation. Other than that, the iconography on the handguard or hand stop is very clean. I don't know what, I think it's supposed to be a bird, but I'm not entirely sure what it is supposed to represent. It's a very clean brass look, and I think the sword is very clean overall in terms of aesthetic. I did order the painted option of the Chu Phoenix. I just nearly lost my train of thought. The Chu Phoenix motif. I very much like the paint job that they have done. Whoever paints this clearly is very good at it. It's a little bit raised from the normal lacquer, but I mean, it's beautiful. It pops out when it is in natural lighting. It is just phenomenal. It's beautiful. This is one of the most beautiful swords I've ever touched in terms of just simplicity. It is just a very aesthetically pleasing sword. I really like it. I don't know anything about Chu Jian. I don't know much about the state of Chu, but I genuinely believe that this is one of the nicest swords that LK Chen has that I've purchased. Now, granted, I've considered all the swords I've received from them to be excellent, but this one somehow is a step above my White Serpent and my Nue Shongdao. Based on other reviews I've seen, based on some short messages from Dilatrex and some other members of the Chinese Sword Art server on Discord, generally I see that people are pretty happy with the product, and I am also very happy with it. I think this is just a very nice sword. This review, I'm gonna put more. I have more footage of me cutting with it because this sword I could not put this sword down. I fell in love with this sword. For the past couple days, I have been cutting nonstop. I have just been practicing my form, my technique. I want to reiterate, I have no formal Genfa experience whatsoever. So everything you see me doing is completely me just kind of winging it. So I apologize if you see some bad form. I have no idea what I'm doing. I am just cutting based on what I find comfortable and what I'm able to do with the sword and whatever feels natural to me. I don't actually know what I'm supposed to do with a Jian. So forgive me. Next, I'm going to show some close-up video, some cut testing on some pool noodles, and even thrust testing. So watch that. Overall, would I recommend the LK Chen Magnificent Chu Jian? Absolutely. I love this sword. And if I were for whatever reason to have to buy another sword from LK Chen to replace this, I don't think I can see anything on their website so far in terms of gen that I would replace this with. I might just buy another one. I'm very happy with the fit and finish of this sword. Everything on this sword really speaks to me, and I genuinely believe this is a rare 10 out of 10 sword. I think LK Chen has been making these swords long enough to have some sort of consistency. And between the three LK Chen swords that I have today, I think this is absolutely the best out of all of them. In terms of just how it handles, how it feels, this sword feels like it was made to be swung. It does not feel like a wall hanger. And none of LK Chen's swords have ever felt like that, but this sword especially does not feel like that. Would I recommend this sword to a beginner? Yes. I think for somebody who doesn't have any experience with Chinese swords like me, I think this sword would be a very good first sword. I think you could not do better than this for your first gen. Maybe if you wanted a longer gen, you could go with that two-handed one that LK Chen refers to, which I will link down below. But in terms of gen that I would recommend to new people, the LK Chen Magnificent Chu is hard to beat. I think this is a 10 out of 10 sword, and I don't have many swords like I don't have any swords like it that are Chinese. Even in terms of katana, I only have an antique Tachi that I can compare this to in terms of fit and finish. So this sword is punching well above its weight. For below $500, I don't think you can really do better than this based on my personal experience. So thank you for watching, and I hope you subscribe.